is we can use something on the MikroTiks that give us a quality of service called the MikroTik mark, and we can prioritize that traffic. So again, that's something that is useful for where people are paying for bandwidth. Maybe you want to have the guys that are authenticating via PMS in a separate QoS tier to the guys that are using free and social in the lobby area, for example. So all that's possible. So you can see how we can use these accounts to deliver vouchers and deliver different experiences for different types of customer, whether it's for a conference and an event, or maybe this is for the IT guys in the hotel. Maybe you want to get all the IT guys' devices connected onto the network and grouped under here. You want to give them a good experience, but you don't want to give them free reign. So we use this approach to also manage whitelisting generally and blacklists. Whitelist we kind of covered. Blacklist, let me just see if I have that in here. Let me see if it's set up here. So it isn't set up here, but let's just talk through the example. So in the same way that we would add whitelisted devices to get them through authentication, we manage blacklisting of devices in the same way. So we would create a service tier called Blacklist, which I think we've done on the main here. Service tiers. Right, so we've got a blacklist service tier, and we have to set that to 10 and 10. And what this does is it gives us a way to limit the experience of those devices that maybe staff that you want to lock down and really treat them differently. So we would create an account for Avani Dira. We may as well do it. Double check that there isn't one in there. But we would create an account called Blacklist, and then we would associate devices that we want to limit and upload those devices into the list here. So again, you could do it one by one. If you've spotted, staff that have been authenticating, or you have a list of devices that you want to put on a blacklist, then you can upload it. You can do it one by one, and then you can manage those devices in one place. And the way that we manage it is that we set the bandwidth allocation to 10 kilobits a second through the blacklist, and that then gives them, it doesn't disconnect them completely, but it gives them a bandwidth that they can't really do anything with. We are working on an improvement to how we display that, because obviously I guess we find that hotels don't always get it right. Maybe you've spotted a device that's downloading lots of bandwidth, but maybe it's a customer. So one of the improvements that we're putting in place is the ability to, if we're adding somebody to a blacklist, that instead of just getting no access, they get presented with a screen, and that tells them why they're, that they've been put on a list, and if they believe they've been put on a limited list incorrectly, then they should contact front desk or contact IT. So that's one of the features that will be coming later in the year. Manuja's question about sessions and bandwidth and having a look at trying to find those devices that are consuming a lot of data. So there is an ability in here to look at different data elements. So you can choose the columns that you're interested in, and you can filter by day. But typically we do that through the reporting engine here. So reports, let me go across. So reports have been designed to be really flexible, because you'll note from what we looked at earlier, there is an ability to create unique data fields, and we want to make sure that we can report those data fields back through the system. So we can send out graphical reports, we can send out just raw data. we have all of these different types of reports that look at different elements of the system. So whether it is the widgets from the front page or whether it is, trending bandwidth information, all that data is available. The way this system works is that these reports will be generated. If you run it as a one-off report, then you can select a date range of when you want that data or that report to run. So let's just quickly here. Right, we can choose, in this example, I'm saying, okay, I want guest data, and I want it to be when this data was created, so when it was registered, so somebody registered. I can choose whether I want this to be scheduled. How often do I want this to happen? So it could be a one-off, where I run it for a date range that's important to me. So it could be that I want to see from the 1st of March to the 28th of March, I'd choose a one-off. But if I want to set this up so that it's automatically emailing email addresses through to the marketing team, then I could do that so that it sets up and sends this CSV report on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis to an email address. So that's what we've got set up here at the moment. If you look at this marketing report, it's called marketing. The recurrence is weekly. It's guest data. And at the moment, there have been 23 occurrences of this running. And the next one is scheduled to run on the 2nd of April at midnight. So let's just click on this report here. It's opened up these blocks at the bottom. And you can see some of the decisions that we have to make when we generate these reports. So we say, well, I want marketing data. I want to send it as an email, and I want it to go in an Excel format. And I want it to go to the marketing team at Minor. And that means that they're going to get this data delivered in their inbox. It's one less thing for the IT guys to do, right? You're not having to run reports and send them to the marketing team or to operations in the hotel. It'll just deliver automatically into their inbox, and they can see either, the data about, the marketing information they're interested in, or maybe how many registrations or how busy the network was yesterday. Maybe the guys at the ops meeting in the morning want to make sure that the PMS interface has been working. These can just go as a PDF report very simply and easily every morning. Let's just go back in here. Yeah, we choose how we want it to go. We give the email address. And then we have to choose, or we can choose to filter the report. So maybe we're only interested in a specific subset of the data. So we can set conditions, we can set filters about this information. So for the marketing information, I guess a useful one might be is if the email address is blank, we're not interested, right? So the filter would be only give me where email address is not blank, then we would get that information back, and that would be valuable for the marketing guys. It could be that you're interested just in the guys that have got an executive room status code or a VIP code, for example. You just choose a condition. You can choose which element you're interested in. So let's look, service tier. You could choose, I only want information about this particular service tier user. I'm only interested in the tag where it is lobby, or it's this particular hotel, or it's this particular venue, or this particular X and Y coordinate if you've got access to Cisco Meraki location services or something like that. So it can be very specific. And then we choose the kind of information that we're interested in getting back, right? So we can choose, okay, well, I want email address. This is marketing information. Maybe they're interested in the gender. Maybe they're interested in some of the unique fields that we created earlier. So the registration number, shoe size, did they have a good experience? What rate code were they in? What room number were they in? If I select all those bits of information and save it, then that report, this one's going to run on a weekly basis. And those reports will be stored here each week. And if I want to download it, I can click and download that file. But it will be emailed out, and you've got that history information available as well. So really useful. You can also send graphical reports we talked about. So in this example, we are choosing the graphical reports, and they are represented here. So each of those widgets that were on the front page, if you've got somebody who's just interested in a particular widget about how much traffic was pushed through the network last night, you could do that on a daily basis, and you'll get a PDF report of that delivered in your inbox each day, which is useful. If I was interested in session information, if I wanted to see each day which sessions have been consuming the most data, then I would get this report to run, and then I could track and see which MAC addresses are regularly at the top of that list. We do get, or we have had a lot of inquiries, back to Manoj's point, about improving a view or creating a view around high usage devices, and along with the blacklisting, that staff management of staff devices particularly, we're looking at developing a separate module, a separate widget that maybe gives us the opportunity to highlight devices that have been on the network for more than 30 days or more than 14 days that are consistently downloading lots of bandwidth, and the kind of rules that you guys would use to help identify devices. And then what we want to have is the ability to kind of right click and say, okay, we'll put these in this pool, a watching pool or a staff pool. I'll put them straight onto a blacklist from there, and we think that would be quite useful. So I'd welcome feedback. If you want to email me across any desires around that, then that's something we're looking at doing, and I think that create a lot of value for the hotels in your regions. So we covered sessions, which is what's going on right now in the hotel. We covered accounts, which is how we manage things like groups of IT users, groups of smart TVs, or event codes for conference users, internet codes, all managed through this system. And we covered off the reports, how we can generate automated scheduling and get those reports information delivered automatically, which is pretty useful. So let's cover off another element of the system, which is marketing. And marketing we can use to deliver lots of different outcomes. So one of the things that it can be used for, we talked about the status page earlier on. And if we want to get more sophisticated with the status page, so to create different welcome back messages depending on the information that we know about a particular user, then let's have a focus on that here. So in this example here, we've got a status page which we can design. Manoj, yeah, we should be able to get that filter in the reporting. So as an example, let's have a look. If we've got, this is session data, we could look at the conditions, and we would add a condition, and we can say, okay, look at the service tier or the sessions. I have to set up a new one. So look. This one, it's not giving me the option, but what we would be able to do is set on the sessions where recurrence is greater than 1, or the date range is greater than this, or data is greater than that, and we'd be able to filter those out on the report so that they appear. So we'll set that up on the Mint domain for you so you can see that. Let me come back to the marketing. So here we go. We were going to go through this status page. Welcome back. So when we're setting up a status page, first of all, we have a choice whether to append it to the information that's already been designed in the portal, or we want to replace. So in this example, let's say we're going to replace the status page. So as an example, maybe we have, we want to present this information back. And we want to present this status page to people where we've got their first name, right? So we know their first name. So we could choose to say, welcome back to and what we might decide is, okay, we're going to use the first name, but we're going to set these target rules. And we're going to say, okay, well, look, we're only going to present this message to those users where we know the first name isn't empty, right? Because you can't use the first name if we don't know what it is. And we could also say, well, actually, we're only going to present a welcome back message to a user if they've been at this location more than once, a recurrence greater than once. And then you can see how we could build that up, right? So in this example, we're just going to have a welcome back page for these guys, but it could be a marketing message. It could be, we want to invite all of the guys that are on the executive floor down for drinks with the GM this evening between 6 and 7. So we would build it up and say, well, look, only present this message where the guest data, rate code, value is, exec or premium. And that would filter who this welcome back page would be presented to. And it would also only be presented back to those guys that log in under these periods of time. So you can see how you could build up some quite sophisticated messaging, whether it's based on, this guest data about first name, or whether it's based on, gender. We could have one set of messaging for customers that we know might be interested in a spa treatment, one that might be interested in going and seeing the Formula One or a race. And if you've got that information here, if we've got gender information, then we can use it to filter them